Tip number 73 is a way to use an AI tool to help you in your job search that I haven't seen out there yet. And that is to take a PDF of your resume or your LinkedIn profile and put it into NotebookLM and then click Audio Overview. And it will produce a fireside chat podcast style recording of two people discussing your resume. And they're essentially talking about you. And it's a great way to get some talking points that you might not have thought of by yourself. And also, if there's anything that they're talking about that doesn't sound quite right, that gives you a cue to go check it on your resume or LinkedIn profile and make sure it's being expressed properly. So, hope that's helpful. I was really excited to discover it. Tip number 74 has to do with those of you thinking about relaunching your career into starting your own business. And I don't want to discourage you too much, but I want you to be realistic and not romanticize entrepreneurship. I recently heard Scott Galloway talk about this. I recently heard Carly and Danielle from the Skim talk about this, but I've long held this idea that don't romanticize entrepreneurship, because if you're going to pursue a business idea, you need to be prepared for a financial roller coaster. If you're independently wealthy or you have some finances saved up or you're not the primary breadwinner, then maybe you can try entrepreneurship as a way of relaunching your career, but expect that you will have a delayed income. You may have a lumpy income where you don't make money for a while and then all of a sudden you make money and then you don't make money for a while again. You might have negative income, meaning that maybe you're investing in your business. But all of those take a lot of obviously financial commitment and also a mental and emotional demand for moving through that difficult journey of starting a company. So if you're already working and considering a career break going forward to pursue an entrepreneurial idea, don't quit your day job. And if you're on career break thinking about using entrepreneurship as a way back in, make sure you're doing that, understanding what the financial commitments will be. Tip number 75 is to consider working for an organization that you volunteered for. And I'll give you two examples, one here in tip 75, and then I'll give you a second different example in tip number 76. But this example is a bilingual social worker who took a 25-year career break, one of the longest career breaks that we have in our community. And she was volunteering at a social services organization near where she lived. And after she was doing that for several years, someone who was kind of mentoring her there said, you should really apply for an open role here when one comes up. And a role came up for a social worker who was Spanish speaking. And I should note that she kept her social work licensure up during that entire 25-year period. So that's something else that you should think about, not letting a credential expire. So she ended up taking that role and was in that role for 7 or 8 years, really successfully, before she ultimately decided to retire. Tip number 76 is the second example of considering returning to work at an organization where you volunteer. And this is a situation where a lawyer who took a long career break and during that time did a lot of work in her town on the school board and in other roles that were advocacy roles for people. And she was on the board of a senior housing organization in that town for a long time, and ultimately they were looking for a new executive director. And as they were going around the table talking about ideas, someone suggested that she take that role as executive director And it turned out she was the perfect candidate because she was so familiar with the organization and had been on the board for a long time and had a lot of experience as an advocate and a legal advocate, and ended up with the executive director role, which she had for many years.